A question that I ask every guest that appears on the podcast, since it's called Jemele Hill is Unbothered. And I can't wait to hear your answer. When did you become unbothered? Because it sounds like you've been in that
I've
space.
been unbothered.
Yes.
I've been unbothered. I've been unbothered, But I know that, Max. I don't mean to sound cavalier about that. That I feel that it's certain things I'm supposed to do. Like this is what I'm supposed to do. Like you can take everything away from me, but this is what I'm supposed to do. One of the other reasons, the other part of my grandmother and her choice to fling herself into poverty is that, her husband, my granddaddy, his church was bombed by the police in Mississippi, at a time that Mississippi was called the bombing capital, Macomb, where my town was called the bombing capital of the world. And they took him to jail in the middle of the night while he had his pajamas on. And, thankfully he came home. Everybody didn't come home, when all that stuff was going on. So that's where I live in the house with those people. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's what I know. And my aunts and uncles got that inside them. And so I don't know how to be anything else. I really don't. I don't know how to be anything else. And to be something else, to be a coward in the face of that, would feel, disingenuous, would be blasphemous. So in that sense, I guess I've been unbothered for a long time. I think that, where I have to show courage is doing this acting thing,
Hmm.
weirdly,
Yeah. How so?
because oh God, a lot of reasons, I don't a lot of reasons, girl. I don't look a certain way, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a body that, that is celebrated in this world. I don't have a hair, I don't have all of that stuff. I don't have those things. And so I think because I was at home most of the time, that I wasn't bothered by it. But when I'm getting to this machine, right? When I'm in the machine of it, when I'm away from there, I'm away from those folks who were like, girl, you fine. Just as when you're away from those voices and the only voice you got is the one in your head, that is when I have to remind myself that I got people, you know,
Mm.
that I'm not alone, that I'm okay just as I am, that I am enough just as I am. And I don't succeed all the time. And sometimes that can be hard. It's better now, but it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing to just have to tell yourself, listen, no, you don't look like that. No, you don't sound like that. No, you're none of those things, but you have to be okay with you. Does that make sense? Do you know what
That
I'm saying?
make that
Oh,
makes a lot of sense. And I often have been amused. Sometimes I'm a little annoyed by it when wonderful actresses like yourself, who have been wonderful for a very long time, when inevitably it happens. I saw it happen. We all saw it happen with Regina King. It's happening with Regina Hall. I mentioned to you before we taped this podcast, I was talking with your friend Cheryl Lee Ralph. There comes a point where the white folks discover who y'all are. And I find this to be hilarious because I'm like, okay, so now that you have the success of King Richard, which is a fantastic movie, and I have long said that the Williams story, Venus and Serena, Richard and obviously Oracene Price, their mother, this is arguably the greatest sports story, maybe the greatest American story of all time. When you think about the improbability of having not just one tennis champion, two who would be in the conversation for being the greatest ever, one who is to me the greatest ever in Serena Williams. Like, this is impossible coming from where they came from. So okay, so now the white folks have discovered you, as you knew, and they're like, oh, here's an Oscar nomination and Golden Globe and all this other things. But knowing the time and the work, you've been acting now for well over 20 years, What does it feel like to you when this moment happens, when you know you are hardly a new sensation, as some people would like to perceive you as being?
Girl, I had decided a long time ago, I was like, listen, if I can just pay my rent, stay employed, pay this rent, pay other people's rent, keep food on the table, keep it, being able to do some fun things for my niece and nephew, you know what I mean? I'll be all right. Like I'm okay. Like I'll be, I'll do this. I'll be on the sidelines cheering other people, and sometimes being jealous is I don't know what. But I will. That's the Lord. That's what you got for me to do. I'm okay. I'll do that. And I had decided that was how it was going to be. Um, but things switch in these very unexpected ways, and that happened. And that the thing is that Black directors, Ava saw something in me, and when she cast me in When They See Us, Clement Virgo cast me in Book of Negroes. Ronaldo Marcus Green cast me in King Richard. Misha Green cast me in Lovecraft Country. So I got a path, of these Black directors who Barry Jenkins put me in If Bill Street Could Talk. So, they saw something in me, and things switched, so now I'm in this other kind of conversation. But yeah, girl, if this didn't happen, I'm used to it not happening. So, it is what it is. And I do believe that we have to have our own measure of excellence. We just have to have it. Yeah.
So, in your mind, has Hollywood actually changed, or is it just that we, as in Black people, you mentioned the Black directors that um, obviously know how talented that you are, or have Black folks, once we get to those positions, just gotten a lot more intentional and determined about making sure we're seen?
I think it's Jemele, I think it's cyclical. You know what I mean? I think it's cyclical. Like, I think we have these moments because we've had them before, where it's like, yeah, it's all about us. Do you know what I mean? Have high visibility. And it's like the moment of the post-racial Obama period, you know what I mean? And then the next thing we know, it's just like, what is this? My girl works in Hampton. They got a bomb threat this morning. They didn't get they weren't a target for the initial threat, but she called this morning. She said, we got our bomb threat, so like I said, it's cyclical. And so because it's cyclical, we have to stay vigilant. And it's not enough, for us to be visible. That's not enough because we've been represented for a long time. They have our faces everywhere. You know what I mean? But that's not enough. We have to have more than just being seen. We need to be heard. We need to take up space, real space, in the way that our white counterparts are able to do. So I mean, we there's a lot said, like Black women are more visible than ever. But if you take a screenshot of when you go to if you got your Netflix account, right? But maybe it's my algorithm, maybe that's what it is. But if you just look at what comes up when you put on Netflix, just scroll down. 9 times out of 10, you have to really scroll to see Black faces. The majority of the faces that you see are going to be white faces. And I don't necessarily have to see Black faces. Anybody who is not white. And I feel like that tells us that we still have a lot more work to do. There's so many stories, particularly about Black women, and it's not stories, it's not narratives. It's the truth of who we are. It's the truth of what we have done what we have done in this country, not our contribution, but how we made it. You know, it's not contributing to something. It's a testimony to how we've made it. When I say made it, I don't mean overcome it. I mean have been essential to to its creation. That's what I'm talking about. And those and it's that kind of story. It's that kind of filmmaking that I want to be involved in happening. So yes, I'm not going to sit here and say that there have not been tremendous strides. Before you started this recording me, I was talking about how brilliant Avid Elementary is, and it's just what I love about it is it is not just representation. It's not just a Black woman's face on, that's in a cast of, 6 other non-Black folks. It is a Black woman who wrote this, who directed this, who created this. And they're like, 3 other Black women on the show who were just taking up space and just being alive and free and liberated and flawed and in front of everybody, and I just love it. I just love it. That makes me excited. You know what I mean?